Something like that. I think our reharmonize is actually going to go hopefully a lot better than that. Let's see here what we have. So today, the notes are written in as always. And hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you for that. So the notes are written in, so you can just play G, B, C, D right there for Oh When the Saints, and then go marching in. So you can read along there, but this is not a tutorial on the song. This is just, I don't know, a mind trick exercise thing about options for chords when you get bored with the chords. And this is a great song for this. I'm actually really excited for this one because a lot of the songs we've been doing recently where we're trying to reharm them, they had so many chords in them that it was hard to like find places to like cram in extra chords. But there's a lot of open space here because as you can see here at the beginning, we've got a G chord and then we hit nothing until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 measures later, we finally hit a D chord. So there's lots of wide open space here. Then we've got a G chord and a C chord and a C minor. So anyway, you can use this as a tutorial if you want. Just download the PDF and then play the song if that's what you're looking for. But let's do this. Let's spin this wheel as many times as we can and then hopefully get down to this wheel, which we almost never have time for. This is melody-based reharmonization and then baseline-based reharmonization. So those are kind of the three main ideas that I'm hoping we can begin to cover. But first, as always, we want to add 7s and 9s and 6s and then play the 5 of any chord before it. I'll explain what that means here as always. So 7s, 9s, and 6s, that just means that on any chord, like this G chord here, we have the 1, the 3, and the 5. Hopefully that makes sense. That would be a good starting place for this lesson. 1, 3, and 5, because we're not using the 2 or the 4 yet. So 1, 3, and 5. And then we've got, if we went just through the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Then we could add in the 7, which would be right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we could also add in the 9. So if that's 7, we'd go 8, 9. And we're following the rules of the key of G right here because we're in the key of G. We would know that from this thing right here, which tells us that there is one sharp in this song. And every time that they get to that note right there, which is an F, it's always going to be sharp. And there's only one major key in the universe that we know of that has only exactly one sharp in it, the F sharp, and that is the key of G. So because it says one sharp, we know we're in the key of G. G is going to feel like home. And all the Fs, until we make exceptions, are going to be sharp. Cool. So then we just go 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And this is what we would use for all of those Gs. Now, this sounds super, super jazzy to most beginning jazz students. And that's great. You should play this chord a lot until you get sick of it. When you get sick of it, you might be getting sick of this sound right here. If you hate it to begin with, then play it a lot because you need to fall in love with it and then, you know, kind of get used to it. It's a unique flavor that you don't want to discard, but also some people prefer this one right here, especially on songs like this one, I'm going to say, without saying what that means. So this note right here would be the 6. So 1, 3, 5, not 7, but 6. And then you could also use the 9 in there if you want, or just use the 6. But anyway, those are some options for additional notes you could stack on top of the 1, 3, and 5. The 7, and or the 9, and or the 6. If you add all of them in, then that sounds awesome, I think, but it's a bit much for some people. So anyway, 6s, 7s, and 9s. That's the idea. Now, these 6, 7, and 9 are going to change on different chords because the root of the chord is going to change. So let's take a look at this D chord. So still staying inside the key of G. So we're still inside the key of G where everything is a white note except for the F sharps, right? Cool. So if we take D as the 1 of this chord, not the 1 of the key, but 1 of this chord, we play a normal D chord like that, 1, 3, and 5. And then the 7 would be that one, and then the 9 would be that one, because we're trying to follow the rules of the key that we're in. We're in the key of G. So then 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Cool. That gives us a D7 or a D dominant 9, a D7, 9, a D9 chord. Cool. And then we would do the same thing with the C chord, giving us this chord right here. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, with a 6 in there. and then the C minor. Now things can get very interesting here. This would be 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 of a C minor, or 1, 3, 5, 6, 9 of the C minor. I'm digging that one a lot. And that's all the chords that we would use here. So if I just played the regular old version of the song, but I fancied up those chords by adding in 6s, 7s, and 9s, we'd have this. I think I didn't break any rules in there. I just added in 6s and 7s and 9s, and already it sounds like something that some of you would aspire to play. So then go aspire away. If that makes sense to you, then that's all you need. Cool. That we're already kind of reharming it just by adding harmonization to the harmonies that you already have. Okay, so then the other thing we can do is, for those of you who are still with me here, play the 5 of any chord before it. So here we go. We take just literally any chord. Let's start with the first one here, the G chord. So we can take the G chord and put the 5 of G before it. The 5 of G is, well, we just said it a second ago. 1, 3, 5. The 5 of G is D. So we can literally just play a D7 chord right there before the G, and that D7 is going to want to resolve to G. That's the way the chords work. The 5 of the chord wants to go to the chord. All right, so then what if we had a D right here? Well, the 5 of D is 1, 3, 5, and A. So then we could throw in an A7 anywhere in here. I'll put one right there. A7. That A7 chord. Now this is starting to break some of the rules of the key of G, and this is where we start breaking the rules of the key of G. Because now we're just thinking about, well, the 5 of D is A7. So we're gonna play an A7 even though it breaks the rules of G, because we're just trying to get into the D nicely. Cool, so then the A7 is gonna lead to the D. Let's see if this is all true. So, D7. Yeah, it kind of worked. Oh my goodness, that totally worked. And I put it on March, but yeah. March. In. Yeah. So let's ask what would come before a C? What could you throw in before a C? 1, 3, 5. The 5 of C is G. Now we're already on a G over here, but you might recall that for the G, what we added in was a nice pretty 7 or a 6 and a 9. But the G7 that we're gonna add in right here is this one right here, because that's what a 7 is. In a 7, in a dominant 7, the one where it just says 7, it doesn't say major 7, then the 7 is a whole step below the root of the chord. So it's on a G, the dominant 7, the thing that makes it a G7 is going to be an F natural, because that's a whole step below the root. A second ago, when we did the A chord, we wanted an A7, and the root of A is A, and so a whole step below A is G. So we added in a G to make it an A7 chord. So that's an A dominant 7. Cool, as opposed to an A major 7. But A7 and A dominant 7 and A with lowered 7, those are all exactly the exact same thing. So we would just say A7, I think that's the shortest way to say it, but A dominant is also the exact same chord right there. Cool, so then in this case, we have how I want to be, and on the word B right there, we're changing that to a G7, B in that, and then we go to the C. So now with all of these 7s in here, it would sound something like this. D7 to start it out with. 7th. Sorry, I suspended it. We'll get there. How I want, man. How I want to be. There's that G7. Okay, so then, by the way, right here, I think I stole this actually from Louis Armstrong. Like I was just transcribing his melody on this. So how I want is what I have there. But you could just play how I want, whatever you want. That's kind of cool. All right, B flat, B natural, D, B. Okay, so then, at this point, we are ready to finally spin the wheel of fate. Let's find out what we've got. The first thing is modal borrowing. Yay, modal borrowing. So in modal borrowing, all we do is we go, okay, we're in the key of what again? That's right, G. We're in the key of G. And so we're going to steal chords from the key of G minor. So we're just going to go to the key of G minor and be like, well, in the key of G minor, there's a G minor and an A half diminished and a B flat major and a C minor and a D7 and then an E flat and an F and a G minor. Okay, so now all of these chords are allowed just cause we're gonna. I will give you a hint right here. This chord right here is a chord that is borrowed from the other mode, the parallel mode. So then C minor is not a chord in the key of G major, but it is a chord in the key of G minor. So that one's already kind of borrowed. So then let's see here. Where do we want to do this? We could do, you know what might be fun is just do the whole beginning in minor. Actually, let's just go G minor this whole way through. So this is not exactly what we mean when we say modal borrowing, but whatever. We borrowed from the other mode. So we're going to do the whole beginning as minor. And then we're going to switch to major. Cool, and then we'll be back to minor. I like that. So then that is one of the ways we modally borrow. Another way is to get this. The modal borrowing thing is particularly common right before you hit the one of the key. So in this case, G's, and we've got lots of G's in here. Now we just wrecked a bunch of the G's because we turned them all to G minors. So yes, so then Mr. Mark in the chat, which part is the new thing? Okay, I don't know, maybe I already passed that, and then we'll be reharmonizing on the melody in a little bit, hopefully. Yeah, we got time. So then what I was saying was as you're leading into the one of the key, in this case the key of G, that's where you would steal a larger number of the borrowed chords. So for example, A half diminished or E flat or F. So we could try that by leading from, actually, I like this idea. Let's do this. This C minor right here is already modally borrowed. So let's just blow that out and just do a lot of modal borrowing there. Let's go. I'm not sure this is gonna work. I haven't really thought this through, and I try not to think ahead on this stuff because I don't wanna pick stuff on purpose that I know is gonna sound good, but I'm gonna try this right here, leading into the G there. Instead of going from the C minor, I'm gonna try to go E flat, which is a borrowed chord from G minor, and F, which is a borrowed chord from G minor. I guess it'd be F7, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use the F major 7. Okay, so then a bunch of modal borrowing in there. We actually, yeah. Let me try that and see how that works. So we go from the top. Here we go. D7. Oh, sorry, we're going G minor. I forgot about that. I'll figure that out. That'll work. That'll work. Just to prove that these are not like the ones that I'm picking on purpose, I could also pick an A half diminished. That's also from the key of G minor. So we could do that instead or in addition to. Let's try it. Let's just cram it in there. In fact, let's cram in all of them. We'll go C minor, A half diminished, E flat, F. That's a lot. So then that would be want to be in that number. Yeah. That kind of works. I'm going to go ahead and leave that there as long as we're not going too fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a lot of chords to plow through. But if we're going slowish, then that should work. Okay, let's move on. That's modal borrowing. So the idea behind this lesson is not that whatever we're about to do is going to make it better. We're just going to change it. In some cases, we're going to make it worse. If that modal borrowing thing made sense to you, then cool. Go take that modal borrowing and then apply it to some other song that you like more than When the Saints. Whatever your favorite song is, then try the modal borrowing thing. Borrow chords from the parallel minor. Whatever key you're in, go to the minor version of that. Pick a bunch of those chords that are in that key and then just pile them in, especially in front of the ones of the number 1 chord of the key. Alrighty. Okay, so then this next one. Okay, so you've never done this one before. This is a Neapolitan 6. This is a flat 2 over 4 to a 5 to a minor 1. So then, let's do it. Actually, this kind of works well because we're going into a minor 1 at the top of the tune anyway. So what we're going to do is, right here, let's just get rid of this D, and we're actually going to put this Neapolitan 6 in here. So it's a flat 2 over 4. So let's talk about what a flat 2 would be in the key of G. Well, a flat 2 would be, well, that's a 2, and that would be a flat 2. So we have a flat 2 chord over 4. So the 4 of the key of G is 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. So it's an A, basically an A flat over C. And then we move to the 5, and then we go to the minor 1. The 5 is D, and we can just keep that D7 in there. So then, I've never used it this way before. But also I have never had my tablet die in the middle of a lesson before because I forgot to plug it in when I brought it back over. Okay, so then we've got an A flat as my tablet is rebooting. A flat over C to a D to a minor. That's going to be interesting. So, how I want to be in that. Yeah, that's very weird and interesting. Yeah. It sounds very classical. I'm trying to make it not sound classical. Whatever. We'll deal with it. And it says it's charging. This might take a second. All right, here now it's booting back up. Okay, so then we've got I'm sorry. Obviously, right here, starting at the beginning. There we go. I think that could grow on me. So I'm doing it at the end of the song too to go back into it. So A flat over C to a D7 into the G minor. Now, this is a jarring enough transition that you can, this is frequently used, not frequently, when it is used, it's frequently being used to also change keys. So if we were going from, you know, let's say B major into G minor, and that's a really hard transition to make, because there aren't very many chords that are in both of those keys. Hang on, let me revise that statement. There are no chords that are in both of those keys. Every single chord from the key of B and from the key of G is unique. So then there's no like a crossover chord, a pivot chord that you could go to and be like, oh, well, whatever. You can't do what you usually do. So if you're in the key of B and you want to go to the key of G minor, then you could go to this, to this, to this, and it would be jarring enough that it kind of like shakes you free of that key of B. But in this case, we're not changing keys, so the most jarring part is that first part, which is the A flat over C. All right, one more time. That's weird. I really want to switch the melody there to when I'm going to. When the sea. Cool. That's a Neapolitan 6, and I don't know that we're going to get any better version of that. So I'm going to go ahead and move along. Let's do one more of these, and then we'll talk about the melody. And then we do this here, the substitution by number chart. So this is not a real thing. This is a thing that I made up because I made a number chart. And so then what we would do is we would go down to here. And here are, in my opinion, a lot of the common and not so common substitutions for chords. So for a 1 chord, it's very common that you would swap out a 6 chord. In fact, I think we have like its own thing in the reharm chart that's just like, oh, try swapping out the 6 for the 1. And then sometimes on the 1 chord, you'll also swap out the 4 chord for it, or sometimes you'll swap out the 3 chords for it. So this is just a thing where you can be like, okay, well, I've got this 1 chord that I'm really bored of. What else could I do on that chord? Like you try a 6 chord or a 4 chord or a 3 chord. So then usually I pick one of the easy ones, and then everyone in the chat's like, oh, why don't you pick one of the crazy ones? So let's pick 1 common one and then 2 crazy ones. And let's see here. We'll do the 4 chord from that one, and then we've only got what do we have in here? Let me see what numbers we even have. Oh, it's up higher. Same sheet, Jamin. Okay, we just have a G and a C and a D, except for these other weird chords that we've thrown in there. But we do have a D chord right here that lasts for kind of a long time. So that's the 5 chord in the key of G. So let's go over here. And in the 5 chord, sometimes we throw in a minor 5. Bummer. Okay, so then we can throw in a minor 5, and then we also have a 4 chord, and I'm going to try throwing in... I don't want to use the minor 4 because we already used the minor 4. The minor 4 is C minor, and we already have one of those in the song. And I don't think we have that many 4s. So I'm going to try a major 2 for the 4, a minor 5 for the 5, and a, what over here? A 2 for the 4 chord. This is not going to go well. Let's do one of these up here because we don't have that many 4 chords. So we'll use this one up here. So I'm going to say, we're already doing the minor 1 for 1. We already did that one. So that's kind of cool. So we're going to have to pick this one right here. So a minor 5 for the 1 somewhere, a minor 5 for the 5. We got a lot of minor 5s here. And then a 2 for one of the 4s. I'm not going to remember that. So then for one of the, okay. I really want to cheat here. So then let's do this. For right here, we said for one of the 5s, we're going to put a minor 5. I think this is going to end up terribly, but everything has worked out well so far. So let's mess that up on purpose. That might work out all right. I don't know. So we're going to throw in a D minor there in place of that 5 chord, a minor 5. What else do we say we're going to do? A 2 for a 4 and a minor 5 for a 1. So what I really want to do here is this one right here. I'm cheating. I know how this is going to sound. I'm pretty sure I'm going to like this one already. I'm going to take out the 5 and put in, minor 5. Yeah, D minor. So I'm going to like that one very much right there. But I took out one of the 1 chords and threw in a minor 5 for it. And then the other thing we said we were going to do is put in a 2 for a 4. I don't even know if we have enough 4s left. Ooh, right here. So right here, we got a C chord. The 2 in the key of G is A minor. So we'll go ahead and put this A minor in here. We could also just bump this C over to here, but since the chart didn't say that, it just said replace it, then we're just going to replace it. Let's see what happens here. I might be surprised by how much I don't like some of this. Okay, I don't know. This thing over here is bugging me. I don't really care for the way this sounds. What I'd like to do, I think, is go from C to A minor, because I've got too many of these chords over here. So what I'd like to do is go C to A minor to A half diminished, and then E flat F right there. So that still uses all the same concepts, but I'm just swapping them around a little bit. I think that's going to sound better. Also up here, I want to go to this, stay on that D for longer before we go to that D minor, because we get to that D minor and then the next chord is a D minor. It doesn't feel like there's any transition happening there, and I really want some motion happening at the beginning of that line. Okay, so then, let's see. Yeah, that E flat and F are just too fast to make that like sound comfortably jazzy there. That's so weird. Okay, I don't know. That's what's written though. These are not all my favorite. Let's go ahead and skip down here to melody-based reharmonization. Okay, so then this says change the chord quality where the melody is not on the 3. So we've actually kind of already run into this. Let's pretend though that we hadn't done anything to this song yet. What I'm saying is all the G's you can turn into G minors. All the D's you can turn into D minors. All the C's you can turn into C minors. All the C minors you can turn into C's. All the D's you can turn into D minors. All the G minors you can turn into any chord that you have, you can just turn it into a different chord quality as long as no singer is singing the note that you're going to change. So let me find a place where this would not work. Right here. When the Saints go. So on this last one here, Saints go. The melody is the 3 of the chord. So if I just took this G right here and I was like, oh, well, Jamin says I could just turn that into a G minor. I'm going to sound awesome, I'm going to sound jazzy, and I'm going to say, my teacher's Jamin. That's why I sound like this. Please don't. Because the B right there, that is the note that you're changing to get it from a G to a G minor. So you're going to play a G minor, and the melody is going to be that thing right there. It's going to be super duper clashy. So then either we're going to have to change the melody like we did at the beginning when we were like, okay, we want to change all these to G minors. That means that this B right here, it's not going to work. We're going to have to change all the B's to B flats to fit into the chords. So either you have to change the melody to fit the chord, or you have to fit the chord to match the melody. But if you're just going to go around switching major chords to minor chords or minor chords to major chords, that's cool, but make sure that at very least, even if you don't test it out to see if it sounds good first, just make sure that the melody is not on the 3 of the chord, the note that you're changing to make it major or minor. Cool? All right. And then say, James is my teacher, learnpianolive.com. It's the best lessons for the best price.com. I don't know what that goes to. I should probably get that domain. So then where could we do that? I feel like we already have done a lot of that. We switched majors and minors a whole lot. So maybe on the next song we start with changing the melody around, because right here we've kind of already done that one. So that's great. Okay, and then this one says the reharm chart. Okay, so this also is made up. This is This is exclusively my chart as far as I know. No one else would write something this insane. But here's how this crazy chart works, at least in my mind. So then, if you're on, well, let's pick a melody note. Right here. This is gonna be interesting. So we got this A that lasts for a long time. So we could cram in a whole bunch of chords right here, either with the D, after the D, whatever. We've got an A. A is the melody. 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 According to my chart, if A is the melody, then all these chords right here potentially could work with A as the melody. Okay, so then that means if you've got an A as the melody, you could use an A chord underneath it, obviously. And there's an asterisk there because there were too many things, too many different options of A's to cram into that one little box. So basically any version of an A chord, an A minor chord, an A augmented chord, an A diminished chord, pretty much an A anything is going to fit with an A, because you definitely have an A in it because it's called A. All right, things get a little bit hairier when we go to, okay, what about an A flat chord? Well, now, if we want this A to work, we'd have to be playing an A flat 7 with a flat 9. That is the chord that you would use where the A is acting as the flat 9. Cool. An A can also act as a 9 or a 2 in the chord G something. G pretty much anything. That's why we have that asterisk there. So an A works in an A or in a G chord as the 2. It also works in a G minor. Cool. It also works in a G, like augmented. So there's a lot of G chords that A fits into. Cool. Also, A is the sharp 9 in a G flat 7 sharp 9. So now we go to G flat 7 with a sharp 9. What did I do there? Nothing. Did I do anything wrong? I feel like I did something wrong. Oh, I played the 9. Duh, that's it. Yeah, so. And A works with a G flat. So anyway, all of these chords here that follow after that could possibly be something that works. So what I like to do is, if we just go back up to here, we were ostensibly aiming for a G here. So what I like to do is just cram in a bunch of things that are going to go chromatically to the G. In other words, actually, let's hit a D chord right here. I'm going to love this. Okay, so we're going to go chromatically to a D because that's where we switch from that like dark to right? So then we're going to land on a D chord right there to get to how I want. And before that, we're going to just come down chromatically to a D. So the chord right before the D is going to be an E flat, something, something, something. The chord before that's going to be an E something, something. The chord before that's going to be an F something, something. And the chord before that's going to be an F or a G flat something, something. Oh, bummer. I already know what the G flat's going to be because we just said it. It was a G flat 7, sharp 9. Woo! Okay. And then F what? Hang on. Let me consult the chart. An A works with an F. Oh, an F almost anything. So we're going to use F major 7, an E suspended, and then an E flat 11. Okay, cool. Let's try it. F, E, 11. Back up to here. I feel like this is the part that makes the least sense. I don't know. You'll have to tell me. In E flat, what did we say? 11? E flat 11? An F major 7 and an E suspended. Yikes. Okay, so. I don't know if that's going to work at all. Oh, but it does go from A to G flat. I don't know. There's only one way to find out. It's too fast. Maybe if I don't speed it up there. So there you go. That's the reharm chart for the melody. What's this one? Change of chord quality. Well, melody's not there. All right, we already talked about that. So we talked about half of the ones that are on the melody. And then let's talk about bass. We're not going to have time to do very much of this, but of course, it says tritone substitutions for dominant chords. So then, here's how tritone subs work. Usually, when you have a dominant chord, then when we talk about tritone subs, what we do is... Do we get into this? Let's get into this. Okay, we're going to go deep into this. I know you've been with me for a long time already, but if you're still with me, that you're probably interested in this. Here's the idea behind tritone subs. The idea behind tritone subs is if you've got a C7 chord, then you can just play the 7 chord. This is a tritone away from that. So from a tritone away from C is going to be 6 half steps or 3 whole steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's exact halfway point between the octaves. So between a C and a C, an F sharp is exactly perfectly in the middle. 6 half steps away, 6 half steps up or 6 half steps down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Either way, 6 half steps away from C is an F sharp. So then anytime you have a C7 chord, you could just play an F sharp 7 and see if it works, and a lot of times, a surprising number of times, it's going to work. Okay, so then here's the idea. I need a 7 chord. Let's use this 7 chord right here. I've got a G7 chord, right? So then a tritone sub away, or tritone away from G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Either way, we're going to land on a C sharp. So right here, we're going to play a G7 chord. Normally, for a tritone sub, we would just get rid of the G7, and then we would put in a C sharp 7. And that could totally work on this, in this case. Let me see if that's... Yeah, actually, it's going to really grind against the melody. So that might not be great. But it would sound like this. Yeah, so it doesn't sound great with the melody, but... It kind of works if you massage it right. But what we're going to do here is, the idea behind this is the reason that this works. No, the explanation that music theory teachers have for why this works is that, for example, back to the C7 and the... No, I'll just go with the G7. In this case, G7, this is a G7 chord, and what we just said was what you could do is play a C sharp 7 chord instead, which looks like an entirely different chord and sounds like an entirely different chord. However, in jazz, we say that the 3 and the 7 are the most important notes. They are the guide tones. They're so important they have their own name. The guide tones are the 3 and the 7, and we don't really care that much about the 1 or the 5, but the 3 and the 7 are like gold, right? Well, here's the 3 and the 7 of a G7 chord. Now, let's go to that tritone, C sharp 7. This is the 3 and the 7 of a C sharp 7 chord. The 3 and the 7 are the same for both of them. They're actually inverted, but whatever. So this is the 3 and the 7 of a G7, and this is the 3 and the 7 of a C sharp 7. So the most important notes actually don't change on a tritone sub, even though they look like the least related chords you could possibly pick. They're actually pretty related because their guide tones are the exact same note. So here's what we can do is, if you've got a G7 chord and you're a bass player and you're like, well, these guys aren't doing any chord substitutions at all, I don't really care for this. As the bass player, you can just play a C sharp while they all play a G7, and guess what they're playing now? They're playing your C sharp 7 chord with some alterations in there, but essentially it's the same exact chord. You can just play that, and now you force them all. They're trying to play a G7, but you force them into playing an altered version of a C sharp 7 chord. So bass players are pretty mighty. They kind of control the whole sound of everything. Or at least they can. So then what we could do here is, instead of taking out the G7 and putting in a C7, we could just go G7 over C sharp. So that's the bass player taking control of the chords there. So then we have 1, 2, and then the chord is going to try to be a G7, but the bass player is going to play that C sharp. I like it a lot, actually. Cool. But I like bass players, so the bass lines are fascinating to me. Here it is from the top. Let's try it a few times and see if we can get this thing to sound half normal-ish. That's going to have to do for today. That was a lot of reharm concepts. Again, the goal is that you would take one of those things and apply it in a one little spot in one other song that's not When the Saints. The goal is not that you would do all of that mess. I'm not even I don't know. It's kind of growing on me. But that's the idea, I think. That's some ideas. If you have others, send them along. Till next time, go explore, mess up, have fun. Rock on, friends. See you next time.